So what are you doing down here? San Antonio Rodeo.
San Antonio Stock Show and Rodeo. One of the premier PRCA pro rodeos of the year. You know, you're not talking this is a 23 they have 23 shows, performances for people that don't understand performance show, you know. Every night on the weekends, 2 shows a day, double up. So, and it's the stock show, you know, everything goes back to the Texas youth. Scholarships is huge, you know, everything that goes on with the rodeo, the concerts. You're talking somewhere around 18,500 people per show for 23 shows.
Wow.
You know, so it's, like I said, it's one of the premier events. So, I don't know exactly how many years I've been there, but I think I've been going since 2011. So rolling on, it's been a lot of bulls at the used to be AT&T Stadium. Now it's a Frostbank Stadium, Frostbank Arena. And, yeah, we're in Texas for a month.
That's crazy. So what does that entail for you? So last night you were, it was 80s night at San Antonio Rodeo.
Retro Rodeo.
And you were just telling me that you were wearing some gear from one of the rodeo clowns from 40 years ago.
Yeah, Skipper Voss, one of the legends of the sport, you know, that kind of his style was a lot of the style you see that bullfighters, you know, we use his same moves nowadays. You know, you're talking 40, 50 years later. So, yeah, Skipper come down. We got him in behind the scenes, brought me his gear bag, let me borrow all of his equipment. His hat that hadn't fought a bull in 40 years.
That's
you know?
crazy.
So it was retro rodeo. It was really cool. It was still the very best stock, the very best guys, but they kind of changed the music. Not so much as much rock and roll, but more of the old band style, you know, like something you would have seen back in the 80s, 70s, 80s, you know. So it was a really neat night of rodeo, and to top it all off, man, we got to fight a fighting bull, and that's a for the viewers that don't know, a fighting bull is the same bulls that you see in Spain or Mexico, that the matadors, you know, you see videos of that. Well, my wife and I, Ashley, we raise these bulls at our ranch in Oklahoma. So every year for the San Antonio Rodeo, we get to bring in a load of bulls that we get to turn out to fight just for ourselves at the end.
And you've had the matadors actually come to Oklahoma.
Well,
right?
and we've had the matadors that, you know, that kind of a whole nother story, but for the breeding program and what we're trying to accomplish at the ranch, you know, we've had the matadors come to the ranch, test all of our calves, and, you know, go through everything and make our decisions on which ones can go back for fighting and which ones go a different route. So
it's interesting because when I think of Cody Webster, I think Cody Webster, bullfighter.
Right.
But there's this whole other aspect of rodeo, which is the rodeo clown. And sometimes those words are synonymous and sometimes they're not. So can you kind of walk us through like what the difference is between a rodeo clown and a bullfighter?
Well, I mean, just a little history lesson. I mean, back in the old days when all this, you know, and talking about Skipper, you know, for a long time, it was one job. You had the rodeo clown that was the bullfighter, that did take care of the bull riders, that did entertain the crowd, that did acts and skits and filled time. And, you know, it was all just one big job, you know. Well, then as time went on, Skipper Voss, a guy we just, you know, that let me borrow his gear last night, and Wick Peth were the kind of the two innovators, or the guys that solely got hired just to protect the cowboys, not do comedy, not do acts. And that's kind of when the sport started changing and it's revolutionized into what it is now, you know. So I still wear the baggy clothes. I still paint my face out of tradition. You know, kids come to the rodeo, they get to, you know, they want to see the rodeo clowns, they want to see the bulls, but my job is very serious. You know, it's literally taking care of the best bull riders in the world. So it comes with a high price tag. You know, it's something that I take very serious. It's something that, you know, when these guys look out through that buck and shoot and they're tying their hand to an 1,800-pound bull, I don't take it lightly. We're there to keep these guys safe, and that's at all cost.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
So you didn't grow up on a ranch. You didn't grow up around bulls. This is not in your family DNA. How did it come about for you?
Well, I mean,
what was
like,
that journey like?
yeah, I mean, there is a little rodeo involved, you know, like my dad, my cousins and uncles and everybody, they all, were bull riders when they were kids, you know, or, you know, real young. Nobody was professional. Nobody, you know, and my grandpa, he could rope, but he was in the war, you know, he was an Army vet. And so he, you know, did what he could when he could, but when he was drafted, it was time to go to war, you know? So that kind of might be where things and could have maybe went a different direction, you know, if he hadn't been in the Army, you know, who knows what would have happened. But, so anyhow, moving forward, you know, rodeo was there, but it wasn't like a profession, you know, like my grandpa had a machine shop where everybody worked and, you know, just, it was just a different time, a different era. But now moving forward, you know, being, doing what I've got to do in my career, you know, has been, kind of the first of its kind for our family, you know?
Yeah. What got you interested?
Man, it's a question I get asked all the time, you know, is what inspired me or what made me want to do that one day, or did I see it on TV or whatever? But it literally was from the word go. I think that's what I was born to do. You know, I think, God instilled something in me that really had a desire to want to be, you know, from being a little bitty baby trying to paint my face like a rodeo clown and moving on, you know, it's what I was going to do. I never had a question if I was going to be a rodeo bullfighter. And that's literally from the time I was a baby till now, you know, still the same dream.
A lot of people have dreams. A lot of people have aspirations. A lot of people want to do, you know, a variety of different things in life. The reality is that very few people ever achieve their dreams. And usually it's for want of, you know, mentorship, or it's lack of perseverance, or just the will to drive forward and be the best. You know, we were hanging out in Coeur d'Alene and you were telling me about your background, and what I think really inspired me about your story is, number one, you had a mentor that helped kind of shepherd you into the rodeo world. And more than that, I mean, you just had the drive, you had the perseverance. And, you know, on Y'all Street, a lot of what we talk about is related to business. And one of the things that really separates the real entrepreneurs from the wannabe entrepreneurs is the will to drive, the perseverance, the willingness to fail, the grit. And you were telling me some stories about even being in high school and leaving high school and coming back. So I'd love to just kind of hear a little bit more about that journey for you, because I think it's an important part of how you became the best bullfighter in the world.
Yeah, I don't know about the best in the world, but
you're the 5-time bullfighter of the year, so it's objective.
It's been a really, really cool journey, you know, and still at 32, you know, I feel like I still have a lot of gas left in the tank, and feel like I've been very blessed with a good career for not only get to be as busy as I am, but also the injuries that, you know, injuries is a part of it. That's what you're going to deal with.